Let's be honest. Have you ever felt that little knot of dread in your stomach when tax season comes around? That little voice in the back of your head asking, what if I mess this up? What is the absolute worst-case scenario?
It's a question that feels a bit dramatic to even ask out loud, doesn't it? But it's a genuine fear for so many people. Can you actually, really, end up in prison for not paying your taxes here in the UK? Okay, let's cut through the noise and get some straight answers. To help us swap that fear for facts, this whole discussion has been put together by the fantastic experts at My Tax Accountant. Their goal is pretty simple, to give you clarity and a bit of peace of mind. So here's our roadmap. We're going to tackle that big question head on. Then we'll get into the critical difference between an honest mistake and deliberate fraud. We'll look at how HMRC investigates, what the real penalties are, and, most importantly, your playbook for staying safe. And finally, we'll talk about getting some pro help. Right? Let's get into it. All right, Section 1. Let's dive right in and face that big, scary question. Can you actually go to jail for unpaid taxes? And what's our legal duty here? Really?
Okay, let's not beat around the bush. The direct answer is yes, it is possible to go to jail for tax offenses in the UK. But, and this is a really, really huge but, it's only for cases of deliberate, intentional tax evasion. It is not for the person who made an honest mistake. Our whole tax system is a legal obligation. It's what pays for our NHS, our schools, our roads.
And this obligation is backed by some serious legislation. You've got the Taxes Management Act, which kind of sets out the rules of the game. The Finance Acts get updated every year with new rules. And then you have the heavy hitters, the Fraud Act and the Proceeds of Crime Act. These are the laws that give HMRC the power not just to collect tax, but to actually prosecute people who are trying to cheat the system on purpose.
Which leads us to what is, honestly, the most important part of this whole chat. Section 2. The massive difference between a simple mistake and deliberate fraud. Getting your head around how HMRC sees this is absolutely key. So, what are we really talking about? Well, a genuine mistake is just that, an honest slip-up. Maybe you typed a number wrong, a simple typo. Or you got confused by a really complicated rule on expenses. We're all human, it happens. Deliberate evasion, though, that's a different beast entirely. That's all about intent. It's knowingly hiding the cash you made from a side gig, or creating fake invoices, or just deciding not to file a tax return at all. One is an accident. The other is a choice to deceive.
And this table just lays it all out, doesn't it? Look at the row for a genuine mistake. If you come forward and sort it out, the penalty could be zero. But the moment it becomes deliberate, the penalties just shoot up. And if you then try to hide it, whoa, we are talking penalties of up to 200% of the tax you owe, plus likely prison and fines. That word, intent, it changes everything.
Section 3. How does HMRC even find this stuff out? Well, trust me, they know a lot more than you probably think. And stick with me here. What's coming up next is a real eye-opener for a lot of people.
So how does the ball get rolling? It's hardly ever random these days. It usually starts with a digital flag. See, HMRC has this incredibly powerful AI system called Connect, and it just crunches data 24/7. If it spots something that doesn't add up, like the income you declared doesn't match your lifestyle, it raises a little red flag. That flag usually leads to an inquiry letter in the post. From there, it can escalate to a full investigation, which ends one of two ways: civil penalties or, in the really serious cases, a criminal prosecution.
Okay, so here's that surprising part I mentioned. Where does Connect get all its info? Well, brace yourself. It's not just looking at your tax return. It sees your bank accounts, your credit card spending, land registry records for property sales. It even has data sharing agreements with other countries, so it can see offshore accounts. It gets data directly from places like Airbnb, Uber, and eBay. It follows up on whistleblower tips. And yep, you guessed it, it can even look at your public social media. Posting pictures of that brand new sports car while declaring a tiny income, that's exactly the kind of thing that Connect loves to flag. And all of this, it leads us to Section 4. The real-world consequences. This is where things stop being about numbers on a page and become, well, very, very real. For decades, the absolute top-end punishment for serious tax fraud in the UK was this: 7 years in prison. That was the maximum, reserved for the worst of the worst. Well, that has all changed. With a recent finance bill, the government sent a very clear message that the gloves are off. They doubled the maximum sentence. For what they call the most egregious examples of tax fraud, the maximum time you can spend in prison is now a staggering 14 years. Let's make this tangible with a real story. A self-employed plumber in London. For 10 years, he just didn't declare his income. He evaded about £91,000. He wasn't some criminal mastermind, but because it was deliberate and it went on for so long, the result was a year behind bars.
And then you have the other end of the spectrum. Take this VAT fraud ring, a whole group of people working together, creating fake companies and invoices to illegally claim £5 million in VAT refunds. This wasn't a mistake, it was organized crime. The sentences for those involved range from 5 to 8 years in prison.
Okay, deep breath. That's the heavy stuff out of the way. Let's shift gears now, because this next part is all about empowerment. Section 5 is your compliance playbook. It's about taking control, staying safe, and knowing what to do if you realize you've made an error.
Here's a pro tip for a situation that a lot of people worry about. What happens if you just can't afford to pay your tax bill on time? Rule number 1, the absolute golden rule is do not ignore it. Don't bury your head in the sand. Step 1, get on the phone to HMRC straight away. Step 2, you still need to file your return on time. This avoids the separate penalties for late filing. Then, step 3, ask them to negotiate a time-to-pay arrangement. If you're open and transparent at step 4 and can show them what's going on, they are often really willing to work with you and set up a payment plan you can actually manage.
Of course, the best way to deal with a problem is to avoid it in the first place, right? Good record keeping is your absolute best friend. It's simple stuff, really. Keep all your paperwork for at least 5 years, use accounting software to make your life 1,000,000 times easier, keep an eye out for tax changes after the budget each year, and be completely honest about all your income, the freelance work, the rental property, even your crypto gains. And the final most important rule, if you are ever unsure about anything, just ask an expert.
And that last point, ask an expert, leads us perfectly into our final section. Section 6, getting professional help. Because you really, truly do not have to face HMRC on your own.
Let's face it, UK tax law is a minefield. It's complex, and it's always changing. Hiring a professional isn't just something you do when you're in trouble. A great tax accountant makes sure you're accurate from day one, they can spot legal ways to reduce your tax bill, and if you ever do get that letter from HMRC, they can stand in your corner and represent you. Honestly, it's all about peace of mind.
And that's exactly what the team at My Tax Accountant is all about. If you need help with literally any tax issue, from a straightforward self-assessment to a full-blown investigation, they are the people to call. You can reach them directly by WhatsApp or by phone on 07854 255 375, or just send them an email at info@mytaxaccountant.co.uk.
So, let's circle back. Can you go to jail for not paying taxes? Yes, but only if you deliberately set out to commit fraud. For everyone else just trying to do the right thing, the key is simple. Be honest, be proactive, and if you're ever in doubt, get some help. For more clear, no-nonsense tax advice just like this, make sure you hit subscribe on the My Tax Accountant YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me.